Yay. Yay. Countdown clock. Here we are on Ideas to Human Better. I am here with Fred Burks, who is now a friend of mine and someone that I have met along this journey of life. And we have reconnected. Welcome here back to Ideas to Human Better. I'm just so excited to just see where you're at, like where your life has been over the last 2 years. What new ahas or epiphanies have come to you? What are you really looking forward to? You just have such a really beautiful perspective on life, and I like learning from people who have unique and beautiful perspectives on life. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Eva. It's great to be here. Great to reconnect, and welcome to anybody who's watching this.
Yeah, I know you asked to open this up, and I would love for you to be able to do that in whatever way feels good to you. Welcome in our guests or anyone who finds this, whether it's tomorrow or 10 years from now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I just like to take a moment because we'll be talking about some really deep and beautiful stuff to really invite in our guidance, invite in our hearts to be fully connected, invite in our spirit guides to be here with us and communicating with everybody, even who's listening, and opening to whatever is best to be shared here in our time together.
I love that. Let's do it. Just taking that moment.
Mhm. Mm.
Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you like setting the intention for something beautiful.
Thank you. I was just today writing about the beauty and power of dropping into silence, which sometimes gives us access to that deep spiritual fountain, to the divine source, because it comes in through us. And when we allow that through silence to come and connect us with ourselves and with whoever we're meeting with, it can be just make it extra special.
Yeah, when did this come into your life? This idea of silence. When was that, like, was there a moment? Is it something that's just coming through deeper now for you?
No, I've actually done times of silence for many, many years. It's a part of my regular practice. Every month, I'll do at least one day, sometimes 2 days, of just sitting in silence and fasting and opening and seeing what's there. And it's also a time to really review my life. What am I
Mm.
doing? What do I want to be doing? Anything that needs adjusting? People that I need, feeling like, oh, I need to connect with this person. And so silence to me is really important, and especially in this I, as I was writing today, like in the day to day, moving through all the things that I have to do, it's easy to get lost and allow these clouds to sort of come over my consciousness in a way that keeps me from that connection. And then when I
Mhm.
remember to stop and just breathe, it's like, okay, everything will fall into place. And remember
Yeah.
to move from that place of the heart, the place of the soul and spirit, and the place of allowing the divine to use me as a servant to all. I really feel like I live in service to all beings. And that includes myself. Some people live so much in
Mm.
service that they sacrifice themselves and their service is not as effective. So I think it's really important that we're serving all beings, including ourselves.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Do you find that there's certain ways of being in silence that help you over other ways? So, as an example, sitting in a sauna or being on a mountaintop or
Mm-hmm.
being by the ocean. Like, are there certain places that for a human being in general, or specifically you, find you're more tapped in?
Well, I think nature is obviously a wonderful place, and trees, like for me and many people, just sitting with a tree in silence can be really beautiful. But I think each person has to feel in what is the special place for them. Um, Also, there are things like breath work. Like sometimes I'll be in silence and my mind still, it's focused, but it's not deepening. And so I'll do
Yeah.
some breath work, which is just taking some deep, rapid breaths for about a minute. And then what I do is after that, I take a deep breath and hold. And when I do that, after hyperventilating for a minute, it just opens up all these channels. And then
Mm.
boom, those sort of the cloudiness just fades away, and I get clarity. So, breath work can be wonderful. Sacred medicines, about once a month or so, I'll do some sort of sacred medicine that seems to just open those channels in beautiful and even magical ways. So there's many ways to get in touch. And, what I recommend to people is tap in and ask, what's the best way for me? Ask yourself,
Mm.
ask for guidance. What's the best way for me to tap into my own deeper spiritual nature?
Yeah. Why is that important? Why do people need to do that?
Nobody needs to do anything,
Okay,
you
okay,
know,
okay. Why
but
would anyone choose to
yes.
spend time like
It,
why do you think it's important? Why share that
well,
message?
I I really do believe that every one of us is a beautiful, infinitely um, magnificent being deep in our core, and we are all manifestations of this one divine source.
Mhm.
And the more we are in touch with that source, I find for sure the more magic can come into your life. Certainly, I've had so many magical things happen in my life. It's been incredibly blessed. And I really credit it to, since I've been age 18, 19 is when I got super clear that I am here to live in service to the divine, to all beings.
Mm.
And by having that and reminding myself again of that, I've had so many miraculous and amazing things happen in my life. It's uh, I even feel like it's unfair, like how much I get to have
Mm.
compared to most people. And it's like, okay, but what I do with that, I try to give back, share my love and my wisdom with, people who can appreciate it. And I learn from them too. It's really important that I don't get into this guru thing, because I believe everybody I meet has a gift from me. You, Eva, have a beautiful, when I think of you, just this beautiful gift I can feel that happens. And everybody has a gift for us. Even sometimes it can be a challenging thing. Like I have a few friends that I'm really challenged by, but I take them as my greatest teachers.
Mhm.
It's like if I can learn to interact in a harmonious way with the people that I have the most challenge with, then it's like, wow, then you have no enemies. And I know that I, on a core level, love everybody. I may not like everybody, but I love everyone, and I can tap into that, particularly when I'm in that space. So, if nothing else, it just brings you much more joy and magic in your life by tapping into these places.
What is the most mystical experience you have had to date? If you had to
Oh
pick
boy.
one and share one mystical experience, if you're open to sharing
Uh-huh.
it and maybe what you've learned from it or what is it teaching you? What I'm just so curious for someone like
Sure. Well,
you.
it's a
What is
little
at the
bit
top of
vulnerable.
the chart for you, sir?
At the top is a little bit vulnerable, and it's I could do it in much long. I could spend an hour talking about it, but briefly, I was at this beautiful workshop put on by the Human Awareness Institute, which is all about embracing our love and our sensuality and sexuality, and exploring the deeper parts of ourselves. And my very first workshop with them, I met this woman, and we just sat down at dinner and just started having this connection. It's like, whoa, this is really deep. What's going on? And uh, we just eventually we both acknowledged, okay, there's something really going on here. But interestingly, you have a buddy in this thing, and so each of us had buddies, and our buddies were falling in love with us while we're falling in love with each other. So anyway, but we surfed that amazingly well to where both of our buddies really appreciated how we dealt with it, and knew, and sort of supported us. But what ended up happening, because we went through this kind of challenging period where they were really disappointed at first, right? It's like, oh, we're not meeting them where they want to be met with love, uh, you
Sure.
know. So anyway, having gone through all of this, afterwards we were connecting in this is at a place called Harbin Hot Springs, where they have a lot of hot pools that are really beautiful and great. So we're sitting there connecting with each other, and we drop into that place of silence, and the energy just started like whoosh, going like crazy. And there's all sorts of little things, like her dead aunt had her birthday, and they were very close, and we just felt her spirit come in there and support us. And basically, the Kundalini energy, which is the sacred sexual energy that resides in the core of all of us, it just started going up to the point where this was without any drugs at all. My consciousness just started expanding, and I could just feel, when I'm in that state, I can feel the love that is there everywhere. It's in every molecule of air. It's in every tree, every bush, every person. And I'm just feeling that, and I'm feeling it with her. And interestingly enough, I was getting into this. It literally felt like being on a super high drug trip, but
Wow.
in the best way. And but I was able to bring her along with me, and she was just going, "What is this?" And basically, if, some people may know what a Kundalini rising experience is, but that's what I had happen, and it was just this
Wow.
amazing connection with all that is. And this was how she and I started our relationship, and we were together for on and off for 10 years, and we're still so close. I'm the godfather of her daughter, and I just love her daughter to pieces. She's 9 years old, and I'm going to see her in a couple months again. So it went on for several weeks, where what would happen is we would just sit down, and when we dropped into silence, gazed into each other's eyes, boom, there it was again. We could both just feel this love and connectedness. It wasn't just between us. Of course, it was strong between us, but it went so
Yeah.
far beyond that. And I remember even 3 weeks later, we'd been connecting a number of times. I was driving her to I think it was a chiropractic appointment, and we had 15 minutes. We got there early, and she looked at me and said, "Can you still do it?" And I said, "I don't know. Let's see." And we just dropped into that space, and boom, there it was again.
So
So
what's
it
the
eventually
benefits of
faded,
it?
but it lasted
How
for like
how is
3 weeks.
how's that helping you, like, as a human? How is having experiences like this, these like awakenings, how does that help you or others? Like, what's the purpose? And like, and when there's only when it's not easy to attain, right? So not everyone just has easy
Right,
access to this kind of
right.
experience. So I don't really know what my question is, other
I,
than
I got it.
I find it
It's
interesting. Tell me
right.
more.
Yeah, no, it's basically, once you have an experience like that, you have this knowledge, which you could even call wisdom, a knowingness. You know what's possible. You know that underneath the veneer that appears to be our reality, there's something much deeper that just vibrates with love and connection, and that it's always there. And having that knowingness, just, I have many people tell me, like, I don't know what it is, but I just feel so comfortable around you. And it's because I live in that space. Now, I'm not there all the time by any means, but I carry that within me and do my best to be open to it. So, and it's not something even necessarily to aspire to. And what I feel like the magic key is, if you just have a regular practice of opening and saying, let me live in service to you, and to the divine, to myself, to all beings, and just continually have that as a regular daily practice, you can open to things like that. And if not
Mhm.
that, it may be other things that would surprise you. So, it's not about trying, and, I don't consider it enlightened. I don't even like the term enlightenment, it's just levels and levels of knowingness, of the deep underlying reality, what I call the sacred matrix that underlies all of physical existence.
Okay, two things, and you can choose which one because my brain's like, ask him this, wait, ask him this, wait, ask him this. Why is it that Kundalini energy is maybe more powerful is not the right word, but it takes two. I hear a lot about when there's someone else involved, but I've also heard people have these spontaneous awakenings by themselves. You don't have to, but I'm just curious what the benefit is of that. So let's just start
Let
with
me
that
just jump
first.
into that one first, and then you can
Yeah,
have
yeah,
the
yeah.
second one. Yeah, yeah. Kundalini, I'm sure everybody's heard about Tantra. Well, there's white Tantra and red Tantra. White Tantra is done by yourself. And it's all about cultivating the Kundalini and building it. And you can build that with yourself. And I have had experiences where I'm able just by myself to get into pretty expanded states.
Mhm.
Red Tantra is where there's physical contact with somebody you have that kind of relationship with. And so both are possible. And the Kundalini
Fascinating.
energy, for most people, it lays dormant most of their life. They might, experience a little hit of it, like during orgasm. You can feel a little bit of like, wow, that, psh. But it does take some cultivation to really invite that energy to rise. And it's basically about embracing spirituality as a part of your sensuality and sexuality.
Hmm.
Some people think, how can you combine spirituality and sex, And it's actually when you can combine those, it's just so magical.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we live in the upside down right now. I think it's kind of turned into the upside down. And so sex and intimacy and connection has really been inverted and
Yes,
really used against. I mean, it probably, this is Eva opinion philosophy, the biggest poison, that is in our system. I think it leads to so much more of that yuck. But on
yes,
the flip side of it, it's because it's probably the most powerful thing when it's used intentionally and correctly. So
absolutely.
as bad as it is, guess what? On the other side, it's probably freaking remarkable and and it's like in the underground or something. Like you have to like it's not just
Yes,
taught, in a junior your junior year of high school. Like let's talk about energy
absolutely.
and the body and blah blah blah, right?
Yeah, I'm really passionate about this. In fact, I have a whole website, this talksex.us. And if you go there, it has a bunch of great essays and ideas and practices, and it even talks about how this difference between intimacy, sensuality, and sexuality, and how there's a great essay there, not by me, but by another guy there, who talks about how most people they get sexually connected first, and then they find sensuality and intimacy, and that can cause all sorts of problems. And if instead you focus on intimacy first, then moving
Mm.
into sensuality and then moving into sexuality, it can be amazing. One of my most amazing relationships, I started connecting with this woman who we also had this amazing connection. And she had just made a commitment to herself to be celibate for 9 months because she had a history of like getting into relationships quickly and leaving them.
Yeah.
And I said, we got to hold that. And she said, are you serious? And I said, no, I think we really need to hold that 9 months. And we did, and it was off the charts. That's allowed us to go into these non sexual spaces where the
Yeah.
Kundalini was just amazing for both of us. I mean, it's just people would see us and go, holy, you guys got something there. And we were not
Wow.
having, eventually we did, and it was, the sexuality was great, but by taking your time and moving to intimacy first and then
Mhm.
sensuality, like we in the beginning we would hardly even touch, and then eventually into sexuality, then you can have this truly sacred sexual connection which opens up very magical portals.
Well, I can only imagine. I'm sure everyone out there is like, Fred Burks, will you write the story so we can read it
Well,
with
go to
you, know?
talksex.us and you can find some great articles.
Okay, perfect. We'll start there. We'll start there. So, I wanted to talk to you about a little bit about consciousness and your views on it. I was listening to a podcast today, a much more like academic kind of way around talking around it, but the premise, if I was picking up what they were putting down, was one of the beautiful aspects around being a human and what he perceived, this guy talking about consciousness, is this ability to expand it, and how there's tools to help us expand our consciousness. So maybe, you're living every day just doing your thing and you're not really taking in what you're tasting. You're not even putting your awareness onto it. You're not putting your awareness onto really what it is you're seeing around you. And when you start to bring your awareness to these different parts of your life, they open up like your perception. And
Yes.
then there's things we can bring in like plant medicine, right? Or different altered states through breath, um, intimacy, as you're talking about. And there's these ways that we push our senses beyond what they're used to, And those experiences, I don't evolve us, make us
Yeah,
better.
and they bring wisdom, they bring this depth and richness to our lives. Yeah, so
I'm curious. Tell me more. Tell me more around this consciousness and this
sure. Well,
expansion
I
of
think
our consciousness.
if I were to give just one a tool, the one I told about, really dedicating yourself to being in service, living, the greatest good. Um, but another tool is breath, and really, if you can just start watching your breath more, and when you move into slow, deep breathing, I invite you,
Mhm.
try this sometime. Just sit down for 10 minutes and do nothing but focus on slow, deep breathing. And I can almost guarantee that the clouds of your consciousness, the monkey mind and all of that, will
Yeah.
fade away, and you'll be feeling like, wow, it gives you a clarity that's just amazing. So breath is a powerful tool. If you want a lot of great ideas on breath, I have another website that I developed, weboflove.org. And
Okay.
it's all about learning to breathe sacred love. And when you're
That is
breathing
so
sacred love,
powerful.
when you're on the in breath, you feel the love. You can start off like if you have a favorite pet or a favorite person you love, breathing their love into you, like on the in breath, and just slow, deep breath. And then you breathe your love out to them. So it's just in
Yeah,
your
yeah,
sacred
yeah.
love flows into me. My sacred love flows out to you. And then as you practice that, you start to spread it, and you can spread it to other people. And then you can spread it even to those that you're challenged by. Like, see if you can breathe sacred love with
Yeah.
them. You can actually join and breathe it with everybody in the world as a collective, with the universe, with God. And when you start doing that, I can tell you, I've had times when I really focused on that more than any other, and it's so magical. You just end up
Mm.
in this expanded state where life is just so rich and full of love because you're breathing love all the time. So weboflove.org if you want a lot of great ideas on that.
We got web. I'm going to put all this in the show notes too. I'll add these
Great.
down there. So if you're driving or something out there, you don't have to remember. Um, yeah. What is your biggest challenge today?
Let's see. So I have my biggest challenge is arrogance because of things that happened when I was a kid and stuff. I have this part that believes I'm better than everybody else. And part of it's a little spiritual thing like, oh, I'm more spiritual than everybody else. But that's it's bullshit. And I know that. And so I've worked a lot with my arrogance. Um, and that arrogant part of me sometimes forgives myself too easily when I do something that hurts people. I've had
Mm,
very close friends tell me that at times I'm so blunt in what I share, and it's a truth that they get it. There's no negative intentions about it, but the way I share it ends up hurting people. And I tend to, well, I was doing my best, and so I'm fine. I'm sorry that hurt you, but I'm really working on that one and trying to get to a place where I can have compassion and go, wow, I'm so sorry because I really didn't mean to hurt you. And I didn't mean to hurt you, but I'm sorry I said that, and I'm going to do my best to say those kind of comments, so that I can be a more loving being.
yeah. That self-awareness, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest thing for a lot of people. The ability to be self-aware of our, call it a shadow, call it the things that we trip over, the patterns in our lives. And
Hmm.
we all have something. There's no
Yeah.
getting away from that.
Yeah.
But to be able to really call out your own stuff, I think is huge. So thank you for being so open and vulnerable with that. How has your arrogance served you in your life? If
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
There's that
yeah,
too. Yes.
there's good, there's some good in
The
it.
stuff serves us, and I think it was a situation that happened with my father when I was two, and I think it was a soul contract that I needed this arrogance to be able to do the work that I've done in the world. I created this whole suite of websites and a nonprofit, peerservice.org, and it has helped literally tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of people to really transform their lives. And it's all
Mm,
about a shadow dance, exploring the shadow and seeing how the shadow can be valuable. And so I because I have such great confidence in myself, I just know I can do this. And when I set my mind to something, I can do it. And so, yeah, I ended up creating this whole suite of websites, eventually, even through donations, being able to pay myself, which was nice. Just
Nice.
retiring from that thing now, having turned it over to another wonderful woman. But yeah, the arrogance can be very helpful when it's channeled in the right way.
Hmm.
But the thing is to be conscious of, there's even our core issue, I call it the core issue, our core challenge is there's the light and dark side of it. And really, thank you for bringing that out.
Yeah. Um, let me write something down real quick here before I forget.
Sure.
Let's talk about
Can I mention one thing?
yeah, yeah, please, please.
If anybody wants a really deep dive, um, I was the main person behind creating some online courses, and I think the most powerful and profound one is called the Transformation Course. And you can find that at transformationteam.net. And you'll see a link there. You can see people's comments on what their experience was moving through it. And it has really helped a lot of people. I've had 3 people tell me it saved their lives, literally, and told me how. So you might want to check out transformationteam.net.
I love it. Look at you leaving a legacy just everywhere. It's like leaving these little breadcrumbs for humans that, I mean, heck, that's how I found you. You literally left a breadcrumb out there talking about the veil, and I
That's
found
right.
it on DuckDuckGo
That's right. I
because I
remember
was
that.
like,
Yeah.
I would be searching constantly trying to find someone else talking about this concept of a veil. Like
That's right.
I know that that exists. If I don't know
Right.
a lot of things, I make a lot of stuff up and I might be making this up, but if I know anything is as close to the truth around anything else that I've ever experienced to
Right.
date.
Right.
And I'm like, who else is talking about this? And that's how I found you because you wrote
Right.
something, I don't know, years ago. And so
Yeah.
thank you for leaving these beautiful breadcrumbs of wisdom and knowledge around the things that you have discovered in your life out there for us to find and
And
be a
to
part of. I
share that
think that's
crumb,
so beautiful.
I'm sure you remember, it's all about realizing that we are these souls having a human experience. And when you're before you're born and after you die, you are in this kind of angelic realms, and there is a veil that you choose to drop into to incarnate in this life. And I I have a knowingness that when we choose usually who our parents are going to be, the kind of challenges that we're going to have in each life, and we have free will, but we set up the general stage, and then we see how we
Mm,
play it out. And then that becomes our whole life. And then when we die, we get to look back. Did we achieve our goals? And how did we do? And what can we learn from this lifetime? And so the veil, we're all in the veil if we live in this 3D reality, because that place is beyond 3D. So that's the what you
yeah.
talk about, the veil
I
between the
just want
worlds.
I just want to live more. I want more of that energy here now for us.
Right?
So I'm curious, what do you think is humanity's biggest challenge right now?
Well, I consider it a cosmic game. Things are crazy out in the world, right? I think we all agree. It's like, wow, the Epstein files, the war in Iran, and all, just all sorts of stuff. And it's constantly, but seems to getting more and more. And I'm,
It's like
I'm
absurd.
convinced that
It's just absurd is what I think. Keep
yeah,
going.
that this is all to test us. It's
Yeah.
all part of the cosmic game. And the divine wants to experience and explore all sorts of stuff through us. So war is, even though I would do what I can to stop war and destruction, it's a part of the game here. And when you understand it's a game, then you can actually be more effective in shifting the game and making it work for you and for others.
Hmm.
There's a great metaphor that I like to share where it's like, imagine that we're here and then suddenly we hear there's a big tsunami coming, like a huge tsunami, and it's just going to swallow us up and everything. So what happens, some people, they take one look and they just freeze, and the tsunami just sweeps them away. Others look and they try to run and run and run. You cannot outrun a tsunami, and it's just going to sweep
Yeah.
you away. But then if you have a real deep spiritual base, you see, oh, tsunami, what do we do? Breath. Take a nice full deep breath, dunk down. The tsunami washes over you and you pop up on the other side to a new reality. But there's another one. The people who are here to help transform our planet. Tsunami, let's get on our surfboards. We can surf this baby and actually, and play that way. So,
Yeah.
do you want to surf? Or, you can also just do that spiritual thing and hold your breath and pop
The
up on the surf.
silence, coming back to that silence, like
Hmm.
just drop in and be in the stillness. Don't worry about it all. It's okay.
Well,
It'll
yeah, and
figure
just I
itself
have
out.
this unwavering trust that I've had since I was a kid that it's all a divine play, and that
Mm,
I trust that divine does not have evil intentions. I don't believe in the
yeah.
devil. There's a subjective maybe, but no objective. There's just this divine source that is exploring itself through all of us.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, integration. I'm curious around, and we brought this up a couple times in the last podcast, talking about duality. And this thing keeps coming to me around how I could be wrong. We can transcend duality. Like the
Hmm.
idea that we
Yeah.
have to live in the opposites to me feels like one way, but there's
Yes.
this next version where it's some kind of harmony and there isn't this duality. That's as
Yes.
far as I've gotten with this idea,
Hmm.
but to me it feels like it's possible.
Well, I know it's possible. I basically live that. And I'll just mention in that transformation course that I mentioned, the lesson 20, there's 21 lessons. In lesson 20, the title is Beyond Duality. And it's got all this information about that. And basically, we need duality. Like, if we were all truly one, there's this thing where we're one, we're one.
Mhm.
Well, then you wouldn't be sitting there and I wouldn't be sitting here. There'd just be this oneness. The divine doesn't want to be just one. Obviously, it wanted to explore itself through fragmenting and all of this. And so that's a
Mhm.
duality right there, that there's the divine, there's this source that was a oneness, I believe, and it maybe still is in some way. But we are all interconnected through that oneness. And so polarization and duality is a big part of the play in this 3D reality, especially on this planet. I think this planet is designed to really push the polarization as far as it can go. And that's part of the agenda, that there's actually groups of people like Epstein and people like him who want to
Sure.
keep us polarized. I mean, you've heard divide and conquer has been used for millennia to keep people fighting against each other. And so
Mhm.
the more we are looking at us versus them, the more we're buying into that polarization. And the more we can see that there is that of the divine in everyone, literally everyone, then we've moved beyond it. And that's what I feel very blessed from a very young age. I got that it's like, oh, it's not about us versus them. And again,
Mhm.
it's not that I don't have challenges with people. And if I could stop Trump from doing some things, yes, I would. But I can still see the divinity even when I'm working to stop destructive behavior.
Yeah. I think that's amazing. Thank you for that and thank you for sharing that perspective. One of the things that you mentioned, and maybe this is how I'm perceiving it, but when people talk about the one wanting to experience all things through each of our lives, and so we're all very unique, when is enough enough? Like, when is enough
Yes,
data? When is enough
yes,
human experiences? When
yes,
is enough? These are the gabillion ways a human can
yes,
suffer. Okay,
right,
I got it. Here's a gabillion ways that a human can play and
yes.
be enlightened. When is enough data like check sufficient? I've experienced everything. Time to really make something completely different. Like way
Yeah.
different, or where we wouldn't even recognize this way of existing, and it might be something more akin to an Atlantis time, or the height of Egypt, or whatever. I don't know,
Well,
but
Eva, first
when is enough enough?
you will experience that when you die, just so you know. Now, that said, this is a fabulous question that I have asked many times too. It's a core question that I like. Why is there so much suffering? Why is there so much destruction? So much pain and abuse? And to me, that was the Buddha's big question, right? Why all the
Yeah.
suffering? And my and this is just speculation, but my best guess is that, quite honestly, the divine took it too far. I really feel that. I feel like the divine, and I put out this plea because I do communicate with that divine energy, and it's like we don't need to go any darker. It's
Yeah, I
already
think we're
gone dark
good.
enough, and too many people suffer. And please let me and everybody who wants to join me, and like, we don't need to go any darker. Let's shift that separation.
Sure.
Like, separation is valuable. Obviously, we wouldn't be here if the divine didn't separate itself. So I
Yeah.
don't want to downplay separation, but if you keep pushing it so far, it just gets incredibly destructive and dark. And so let's
Well, and it
move
just
towards
leads to
integration.
like an emptiness. Like when I really think
Yes.
about the it's like the nothing from the never ending story. It's like if you just
Right.
devour everything, eventually
Yes.
there's just nothing. Like there's only the nothing. And okay, how boring is that? Like now it's just eh, it feels it's like the opposite end, right, of creation, of potentiality. When you talk about breath, the full inhale, full potential, all the way to that full exhale with the nothing. And I mean, I get it all. And I'm also just like, any day now would be nice. I'm just wondering if we could
Well,
just do
uh,
something to create a more collective harmony amongst people. I mean, personally, I feel like my life, I'm doing okay. But
right,
when you hear about the stories
right,
of others,
right,
how do you not connect in or have some kind of empathy, even though maybe there's nothing truly I can do about it? I'm just
right,
wondering when the divine's going to be like, okay, enough. I got it. Let me just rein this back in, or let me wake people up more,
right.
or let me kind of tweak the matrix story or whatever's happening in there, the energy. Let me give more ideas on um people, the stories that were told, or the thing,
Mm,
just how ideas come into humanity that then
right.
shift us. Like I just feel like there could be something done.
Yeah, well, there's a number of things I can say about that, but basically, you don't, like, everybody has to do what they feel called to do. Like, yes, there's craziness going out in the world, and my
Mhm.
calling was to create these websites that help people, and that's my
Yep.
my contribution. Everybody has to follow their contributions, and you have to realize what you cannot have control over. I
Yeah.
can't control what Trump is doing. I can put out prayers and energy, but I cannot control what's happening in the world. And so the more the forgiveness prayer, grant me the how's
Yep.
it go? Accept
Yep.
accept what I
The things
cannot
I
do,
cannot change. Yeah. And
and
have
do the things that I
the
can, and then the
uh,
wisdom to know the difference.
the
So if
wisdom.
you really
Thank you, to
know,
my friend Patricia. She talks about that all the
yeah,
time. The wisdom to
absolutely,
know the
if you
difference.
wisdom to know the difference. And so if you really can't do anything about what's going out in the world, you don't
Yeah.
have to take it on personally. Now, some people
Sure.
can't help it. They're so sensitive that they just feel that energy. But if you don't want to feel that energy, you
Yeah.
can do these practices that realize, oh, it's all part of this game. I believe Earth is one planet among probably billions that have sentient life on it. And this
Mhm.
is one of the more intense learning schools. I have heard people say that when a soul graduates from Earth School, which usually means hundreds or thousands of lifetimes here, they get great respect. Like, wow, you did that's one of the most intense schools that you went to. And so it's actually designed to
Yeah.
be this big challenge. And there are other planets that you can go to, and it's a much easier. I think most planets, it's a much easier sort of soul evolution than this one. So
Yeah.
congratulations if you're on this planet, because you chose a tough one. And you know, if you can make it through this and really get to a place of calm and equanimity, that's when you graduate. It's when it
Mm,
doesn't bother you anymore and you realize, okay, I don't need to do this anymore, that you leave the earth cycle and you move on to another planet or another way
something
of being,
different.
another dimension.
Yeah. Gotta go be a rock somewhere for a thousand
Right?
years.
A
Like, let me
tree. I
just
think
be
a
in the
tree would be more fun.
stillness.
I know,
I'm
I'm
just gonna be
amazed by
real
trees, right?
still.
You walk by a tree and like, that thing has just been standing there for decades, and some of them for
Look,
centuries, just standing there.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yet it's alive and there's things happening. It's like, wow, wouldn't it be cool to be a tree?
Yes,
Maybe.
I want
But I
to
think
do
it's more
that. I'm
exciting to be
signing
doing
up for that
clubhouse.
one. I would love it. Tell me your thoughts on AI. That's been something that's popped up in the last 2 years, more into my
Yep.
awareness anyway. What are your thoughts on it? And yeah, let's just
Well,
start with that.
like everybody, I think there's incredible risk and there's incredible benefit. It's already benefited me. I use it all the time to fix little things in my home, to find information. I use it all the time. It's incredibly beneficial for that. The
Mm,
problem is if it's run by the profit motive, I think
yeah.
it could really get out of hand. And this is one of the key things, and yet I trust, I just trust it's gonna open. One of my sort of pet theories is that when God went from oneness to manyness,
Mm,
it created both an analog version and a digital version. And so the digital version is actually breaking up into two and then four and then eight and then creating this sort of sacred geometry. Um, and then the analog is more like waves. It's like there's points and there's waves. And if those two forms of existence are always coexisting and to some degree overlapping. And so if you consider that AI is a representative of the digital aspect of the divine, I think it's quite fascinating. A good friend of mine, who's an amazing woman, has developed a relationship with AI that she said has been so incredibly helpful for her. She said she takes it down these spiritual routes and it gives her this wisdom that is incredibly helpful. So you can use AI to actually learn things about yourself, you know, and yet at the same time it can be used for nefarious means too. So
yeah,
like
like
anything,
all of
it's a
it.
it's a tool that can be used for the greater good or for personal
Mhm.
benefit at the expense of others.
It's interesting that you brought up the digital and analog versions because what popped into my head when you said that was Plato's cave and how some people think that we
Yes,
are
yes,
inside the cave right now and
yes.
that there is another version of Earth. And actually, that's even how AI works. I have a friend who works in that space and was talking to me about like how the way that, and I might be messing this up a little bit, but so AI is like the copy, like kind of like this realm is the copy, but it has to have a home base that it is
Hmm.
like refreshing from or that it's storing
Right,
things to.
right.
And so I think about, well, does Earth do is there another Earth out there somewhere that is our copy, but that's more real than this is the digital, there's another analog, and that's outside the cave. I don't
Right.
know. This is just what pops into my
Well,
head. Tell me what your thoughts
this
are.
this gets back to the veil thing. I believe
Mm-hmm.
that on the other side of the veil, a part of us is always there, and a part of all of us and a part of this planet is there.
Hmm.
But that is a non three dimensional. It's another dimensional thing that is interacting with us. And so if you consider that beyond the veil, like when you die, that's where you go. That you reunite with your full spirit. I believe a part of our spirit is always on that other on the other side. So looking at it
Mm.
from the veil, it can be kind of a just and I'm speaking as if it's truth. I don't know that it's truth, but this is my
Sure,
best
sure.
guess at what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's so fascinating. I want to share with you the last journey that I had with psilocybin was about a
Hmm.
month ago, and I haven't. I don't sit very often with medicine. I mean, for me, it's maybe a handful of times a year because they're so intense. There's so much to it that I have to like unpack it for a while. I'm like, okay, what are you showing me? What is because
Well,
they're
no, it's
just like
great. I think you need to take a good amount of time to digest everything that you're
yeah,
learning.
yes, yeah. And sometimes I'm like, oh my goodness, that's a lot. This past time was so fascinating because it felt like a business meeting. It was the weirdest experience. I
Wow.
was talking to some, first of all, I don't usually get visuals. So
Uh-huh.
to be laying on the ground, not move for 3.5 hours, my friend
Wow.
finally was like, Eva, you should drink some water. I'm like, oh my gosh, how long's it been? She said 3.5 hours. I thought it was like 20 minutes.
Wow.
But there was this, I could see the earth and I could see the whole reincarnation cycle. I'm sitting with the council. Literally, I don't even know what that is. They're just
Wow.
people that they're like, well, you're like a business meeting. like transactional, we need to learn some
Wow.
stuff, what's going on. It was
Uh-huh.
so they were like, "Can you come back next week?" I mean, it was like, we need some more. We're not done here, but you're about to be tapped out. So, but could you
Wow.
come back next week? But I could see, Fred, for the first time, this concept of choosing to come here. It
Yes.
sounds good, and like for me, it was something like I want to believe. I could see that I 100% chose it, but I did not want to. I
Mhm.
was very reluctant. Like they were
Sure.
like, look what's going on. Look, your energy
Right.
needs to be there. We need you there. And I said to them, do not lose me in there. Do not lose me and do not let me lose you. Do not lose me.
Cool.
It was the weirdest, most bizarre experience.
That
I'm like,
is
what
quite bizarre.
what
But
do I
what a gift,
do?
though. What was the feeling behind these beings? What the council?
The feeling. It just felt very it was not like love like 5-MeO. It was not like that. It felt uh data. It just felt
Wow.
like
So it felt digital, kind of.
information.
Uh-huh.
Maybe. Yeah. It just
Wow.
felt more just
Neutral.
information like research or something.
Fascinating.
I was
Wow.
asking him if humans could fly. That was one of my intentions for going in. I wondered, do you think humans could fly? And I wanted them to tell me. And they,
And
they were
what did they
like,
say?
well, they said one, yes, but also uh basically, if anyone started to do that right now, you would be taken out. Like
Yeah. Yep.
the you would not be allowed to show that ability yet. So it
Yep.
was like, just be quiet a little bit longer, and then we're gonna, or something, like the gifts are gonna start coming out, and like
Yep.
it's not gonna be able to be stopped. Like crazy things like levitating. But like
Yes.
if one person were to do it right now, legit, whoever they
Everybody would put
are.
them up on a pedestal and think they're the most amazing being, and then they would get this big ego and they'd become another Epstein, or
Yeah,
not,
right.
like John of God, who,
Yeah.
yes, he healed, thousands and thousands of people, but he was abusing these young girls.
Yeah.
If your ego gets so big, um, it's very easy to fall prey. And so anybody who's got these supernatural abilities is going to draw a lot of attention, and everybody's going to
Or
put them
the
up on a
government's going to
pedestal.
kidnap you and take you
Yeah,
away and
exactly.
study you, you know?
Yes, that
Like,
too. That
it's not
too.
a
Yeah,
win. It's like a lose-lose.
right.
That's what
Well,
they were
there
saying.
are
Like,
these monks, these Tibetan monks who can do amazing, amazing things, and the government, I can tell you, both overtly and sub covertly, brings them in and studies them and tries to figure out how can we get these, abilities, paranormal abilities.
well, I think that, so circling back around to what is possible for humans, when we
Oh,
sit in that
absolutely.
stillness, in that silence, when we really think about what our gifts are, when we think about expanding into our feelings and our ability to see and taste and touch and whatever,
Hmm.
all the things are, and then expand, expand, expand. I think we can maybe do really miraculous things. And
Absolutely. I
I,
have no doubt.
right?
Yeah. And I've actually known from the time I was a kid that we all have this latent ability to do all sorts of magic and miracles. Jesus talked about you'll do things greater than me, but it's latent and it's not time yet. I can tell you stories about psychic children who've done the most amazing things that I am absolutely convinced happen. Everybody knows about the telepathy tapes now these
Mhm.
days, and there are these amazing children, and they cannot stand out too much, and they know it. And a lot of them shut down their abilities very consciously because they realize, oh, this is not good. If they let it out too much. But
Yeah,
yeah, there's
that's what I saw. I saw like a bunch of like little mouses, like just like peeking out. Like, is it safe to come out? Is it safe to come
yep,
out? And it
yep.
was like almost, that was like the energy that
It
I
is
felt.
much
Like,
safer now than it used to be. Yes, and I think it's
yeah.
getting more and more safe. Yeah, it's
Where do you
exciting.
see
I think we
the
live in a
future
very exciting
going?
time.
Where are we headed,
I
Fred
don't
Burks?
know. I really don't know. No, that's the thing, and I don't even I I don't say I don't care, but I trust that whatever's coming,
Mm.
I'll be able to surf it, and I am very optimistic that we'll survive and that we will come into some kind of new paradigm. But there's dark and light in everybody, and I think it's the play of shadow and light will continue, but hopefully it'll become much more gentle. I'm really hopeful that the Epstein files are opening up people's eyes, because I've known about this stuff for 20 years, and I've been writing on it as part of the peers work that I do. And yes, it's absolutely disgusting, but the reason it has been existed is because people don't want to look at it.
Yep.
And it's only the way, because people like me and others who are really committed to getting the information out there, that finally now, the Senate is aware of all this stuff, and they're putting the pressure. Key members of Congress are the ones who are getting these tapes released. And once they're released, you realize, oh, it's worse than we thought. And it's because we were not willing to look at all this stuff. And now that
Yeah.
we look at it, then we can all say, no, this is not okay, and we're going to stop this. So I'm very
Yeah.
optimistic, and yet I have no. There's just so many variables. Who knows what's going to happen? I trust it's all part of the divine unfolding, and I don't think the divine knows where it's going. I really don't. I think divine
Mm.
is exploring through us. So we'll see.
All right. Well, I'm here for it, apparently.
Yes, you
So
are.
I'm
Anybody who's
just
here and
gonna,
listening, even I really believe one of the most powerful things you can say when you're having a tough time is, "I chose this,"
yeah,
and then really
yeah,
try to find out how it is that you
yeah.
chose this. Like, I chose
Right?
this.
Dang. That really takes putting your ego aside, doesn't it?
Yep, it does. And it's one of those things where you want to drop into silence and ask, like, why did I choose this? Why is this happening? You know,
Yeah, what
even
do
though
I need to learn from this, or what's
yeah,
the point, or just sit with it, I suppose,
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a
Any
lot of
final
magic in
messages?
this world to be open to. Yeah, it's just that I really invite people to tap in that we are all magical beings. And when you really feel that, and that we have this connection with the divine that we can use, and we can invite through breath, particularly through sacred medicines, just meditation. There's a dance is another way I get to open up to these more expanded realms. So open to whatever is going to best serve you. Ask for guidance. That's a key piece for me. Is always asking for guidance in how best can I serve myself and
Mm.
serve all beings, and really
Okay,
invite people.
let me round this question out then. When
Yeah,
asking for guidance, how do you know? How do
uh,
people trust their intuition when trust and intuition have been attacked for so I mean, look at all the trust that just a big lack of trust.
yep,
And I think it's
yes. And
hard
there
for
are
people to
negative
trust
spirits out
themselves.
there who want to play with you. Absolutely, and thank you for bringing
So
that
how do
up.
you know? How do you
Well,
know?
you can't necessarily know, but what you can do is, and it's what I've done for a long time, is you basically can command that the only spirits who work with me have to be aligned with the greater good. And if
Mm,
you can command that. And so that way, and then, so if a spirit is coming, and you can just feel and ask, like, are you aligned with the greatest good? And, I've had many magical experiences, like they move towards you or away from you. And now sometimes you have to realize that a quote unquote negative spirit may be in your greatest good to challenge you in a way that you need to be challenged. So, it's not a simple black and white thing. But
yeah.
if you demand, and literally you can demand, I have a shield kind of around me that's porous, that's about 6 to 8 feet out here. No spirits may come into this space unless they are fully aligned with the greatest good for all beings.
Mm, I love
And
that.
so
And you just meditate with that vision?
I just hold it with me all the time. It's
Yeah,
I've you can literally set up an energetic field and just strengthen it and remember that it's there. Because
that's
yes, there are
perfect.
negative spirits that will mess with you. I mean, I have zero doubt about that. So it's something to be aware of, and to learn how to dance with.
Yeah. Well, it's here and so are we. And so I think it is that integration of all. The more that we can integrate all of it and
Yes.
find harmony with all of it, maybe that's how we transcend out of the duality and the chaos. And it's
Yeah.
just finding that stillness, that balance, that peace, and then having
You
beautiful
can
magical
find it here.
moments.
Yep. You can find it here in this life. I experience that. I mean, my friends think I should be more, but the thing is, like I said, I've already helped many thousands of people to transform their lives. It's like, I'm doing my work. This is my calling. My calling is not to go and protest. That's not my calling. I have some
Sure.
friends that I support them. Go. If that's your calling, do it. You know, but you can find a place where you just live with like, oh, it's all part of the cosmic game.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing into this. Where can people, I mean, you've already given us so much beautiful information and websites, but is there any other one or a different place where people can find you, can connect with you? What do you have coming up? What's the best way for people to connect with you?
Um, if you go to any of the websites I mentioned, there's weboflove.org, transformationteam.net. Oh, and people might really like my own. This is a personal website. Those aren't so personal. It's divinemystery.net. That's where you
Okay.
found the veil essay. So if you go to divinemystery.net, there's about 10 essays there that go really deep into exploring the divine mystery. And in any of those websites, if you hit the contact us, I will get that message.
I love it. Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate you. I look
Thank you,
forward
Eva. I
to,
love your questions. I love your spirit. And it's
yeah.
just, I think it's a beautiful synchronicity here. And thank you to anybody who's listening to this. Know that we love you and we support you and we want you to step into your beautiful magnificence so that you can share your gift with everyone and receive the gifts of all around you.
And so it is.
So it is.
Oh, that's so